All right, and we are back. I want to point out something. I forgot to mention this earlier. This is the first stream, I'm pretty sure, immaterial otherwise, but this is the first stream that will not be saved on twitch.tv/Omar Krieg. Come tomorrow morning, if all goes well, I will have tonight's episode uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@Omar Krieg. The @ symbol is some new handle thing that YouTube is doing. I wish it was more easy than that, but we take what we get and try not to throw a fit. I don't know. It was supposed to rhyme, but the rhythm was off. But anyway, tonight's episode will be found on youtube.com/@Omar Krieg. Come tomorrow morning, if all goes well. Please like and subscribe and all the other silly things that YouTubers say and do. Returning to the things at hand. I don't know if Talus is back yet, but that's fine, because Rev has the higher glory of the two. So Rev gets to make the choice first. You can choose to interact with the different squires, ask a few questions if you like, or just select one arbitrarily or what have you. I will mention, not so much that I'm trying to rush, but I do want to try to get through the Royal Feast tonight, which is the very next event. And as we recall, the feast can take a little bit, and I have a couple of pseudo short events lined up for the feast to change it up a little bit from how we did it before. So, Rev, would you like to make a selection? Do you have questions you would like to ask of the squires that are currently standing in front of the head table?
I guess I approach in the order that they were introduced. Lidno, when you say rugged, does that mean that he's lightweight and just wiry, or does he look like he's just had a bit of a rough up? You know, the kind of, you can tell somebody when they've just had a hard upbringing.
You know, when it comes to the descriptor of rugged physique, it's a randomly generated trait of several traits. I will say this though, his size is 13, so he's a little bit on the bigger side. So we can assume between those two things alone that he's got, you know, more of a physically hardy stature. So he's got some girth to him, he's got some muscle on him. But if we want to, we can also assume that he's got a little bit of, you know, maybe he was brought up a little bit tough, and maybe that's why he's got some of that muscle. And maybe he's not necessarily quick of foot, because his dexterity is an 8. So maybe he is a bit more of a bigger guy than he is a strong, wiry guy.
Okay. Sorry. And then, I guess, I'm gonna sort of make inquiries, as I am a bit pious, as to the nature of his faith, both in his like personal beliefs and like I'd ask the right questions to ascertain if he was Roman or British Christian.
Couple of things that you could pick up right away in your brief conversation with him. He is definitely quite devout in his spiritual beliefs. He is arguably he is a hardcore Christian. And I realized as soon as I said that out loud that might sound a little demeaning towards Christians who are strong in their faith. But this guy is definitely, his spiritual is 17, which is, you know, really freaking high, all things considered. And based on the way he's answering you, you know, a question you throw at him, maybe you start a particular passage in the Bible, and he immediately closes that passage with the appropriate response that indicates otherwise, and easily for you, that he is of the British variety of Christians.
Okay. And I also am going to approach, I think you said, Morrowind, the one you described as rotund.
Yes.
Could I get an idea as to their stats as well as their flavor of Christianity?
Ironically, they are both... One could... In fact, there's something of a rumor or a story that sometimes gets told of these two squires, one male, one female, that they almost have a competition between the two of them as to which one is more faithful than the other. And it's a competition that easily goes back and forth. One day Morwen seems to be stronger in her faith. One day Glidno seems stronger in his faith. And they're both, as it turns out, of the same variety of Christian, being British. Regarding Morwen's physical appearance, she has a rotund physique, but you hear, as you're talking, you overhear somebody, one of the other knights, who says something about, I trained with her one time, and holy crap, not only is she kind of a large lass, but she can move. Oh my god, she can move.
Okay. How does her size? You mentioned that she's rotund, but I mean, as far as like height and broad of shoulder, how does that compare, say, to Glidno?
I think easily if it weren't for the fact that they're not related and from two different manners, and they look nothing alike as far as, like facially, one could argue that they might have been twin brother and sister, but the fact that they have incredibly different eyes and hair color, I think, because what's his face? Glidno was pale eyes and greasy blonde, and she is dark eyes and thick red hair. It's almost as if these two are like mirror images of each other, except for the fact that they look nothing alike. Where Glidno is not so quick on his feet, she is. They are about the same size for all intents and purposes. He might have a little bit more height on her, but otherwise they're basically the same size. And she's also much quicker afoot and maybe a little bit more wiry than muscle bulk, but definitely the same sorts of strength.
Okay. Well, history aside, I'm gonna go with the red hair.
Okay. So you're gonna choose Morwen as your squire?
I am.
Okay. Let me make a quick note here. No, I wanted caps lock on. Why didn't that work? That was weird. Chosen by Survivor Heart.
And
Okay.
that's Morwin?
En. I will. Let me do this. Control C. Discord. Control V. Enter. Pendragon General has some of her stats that I didn't mean to put in there, but whatever. That takes us to Sir Farvel. There are 5 squires remaining. You may choose as you wish. You have no limitations based on where the squires hail from. You've already heard a little bit about young Glidno, whatever. I think you missed my opening speech there, but in short, you can choose one arbitrarily if you like, based on the information you already have. You can approach one of them or any of them and ask some questions about them to get to know them a little bit better.
All right, I outright ask all of them I outright tell them that I don't really care about their religion and more interested in their personality and or what weapons they favor.
Okay, before you get too much further.
Or if that's not apparent.
No. I wanted to check your religion or your spirituality, and you have 10 and 10 for spiritual and worldly. So, I feel like that's not a bad move on your part. So, with that in mind, I don't have notes about weapon preferences. They are all squires in the Kimmick culture, so they're all being trained on the sword and the spear. I don't have anything beyond that as far as like what weapons or whatever they use. So unless there's something specific you're looking for.
Then I guess I will ask them if any of them have... Or I guess I will ask if any of them are interested in learning on taking the bow up.
That's a good question, and one I was not prepared for. So let me peruse these individuals and see what comes to mind. Oh, you know what I should do? I know what I should do.
If I recall your descriptions correctly, and this is just me
Mm-hmm.
offering my thoughts, but it based off physique, and that's not everything, but based off physique, it seems like if I got the names right, Olwen and Moriel would be the more interested in archery.
Yeah, that's definitely a good
That's what
start.
I was also thinking, yeah.
That would be a good start. I'm also looking to see if any of them got a hunt skill applied to them. Not that you guys would see that offhand, but I'm not seeing one. So let's go with. Oh, never mind. Your Squire Rev has an axe score. I just noticed that while looking through these people. Yeah, no, I think, you know what, I think Olwen, the redhead from Pitten,
Hitting.
will make an indication that she's not, that she's not afraid of the bow. In fact, I don't have a whole lot of stats to work with here. No, you know what? She does step forward a little bit, or otherwise indicate towards you that she has some experience with a bow, and she's not known for missing. We'll say that.
Alright, then I will take Olwen of
Okay.
For the newer viewers or for Rodance, my character has a number of skill points in axe usage.
All right, so you're gonna.
somehow not surprised.
All right, so I will copy and paste some stuff here for you in just a second. Chosen by Sir Farvel, and then I need to disregard that part where it says no rev. That was just my little note to remind me that Olwen of Pitten could not be chosen by Sir Everhart.
Okay.
I thought it was just your general mentality, no rev.
Well,
And it's like,
that's
I
why.
couldn't
Well, I'll put it
take
this way.
a Morwen of
That
Stewards.
that's why I said. That's why I wrote no rev, because of my attitude towards you, I guess. Rodance. I'm sorry, Sir Dallin. Newly knighted, still brushing off some dirt from the ground and maybe a piece of grass or something from his hair. There are 4 squires up at the head table, waiting for you to select which one you're going to choose. And the only reason why you get to go ahead of Sir Gareth is because Sir Gareth is an NPC, but, story-wise, Sir Gareth is currently imbibing some wine.
Well, I approached the 4, and I specifically looked towards the 3 who are clearly labeled as Christian, even though one not very much, and asked them if any of them would have any interest in working with a pagan knight.
Nerys of Winterborn Stoke has exactly 0 concerns about whether her knight is a Christian or not. The other ones...
I'm assuming Glidno would not be very fond of the idea of being a very pious British.
Yeah, he's pretty solid in his Christianity. He kind of just, he watches you, but then as you get closer, he kind of looks more directly ahead and is only nominally aware of you, more or less waiting to see if you're going to ask him anything specific, but otherwise, he's just kind of keeping to himself. Aethna of Broughton, who is a pagan, and wearing the bracelet, as I mentioned before, she's kind of... when a child knows that they're about to go to the park or the theater or something else that they find exciting and new and cool? That energy that the child has, right? But
She's
Aethna
excited.
is keeping it under control, but you could feel that energy, though. She's really, like, it's, like, if you didn't know any better, she's she's trying to not. She's trying. Jesus Christ. She's not trying to lock eyes with you, but she's watching you. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Now, I say that only because she's a pagan and her spirituality is an 18, and she's hoping, not that you would necessarily know this, but, you know, GM to player, she's definitely hoping to learn something from you.
Well, I basically give them I am basically a very prudent individual who doesn't ever forget a face and well versed in social courtesies of several flavors and other such activities. And while standard training, I've focused on that aspect more, the chivalrous aspect of being a knight. And was curious. Do any of them have a very obvious like personality trait, the same way that I am very much known for being a prudent, pragmatic person?
That's a good question. Let me peruse these notes again. The ones I'm going to be looking for is up here in their descriptions. So let's see. You've heard Glidno has often and sometimes at great length gone very much into descriptions about how justice isn't always just and it needs to be refined. You know, whether it's the king's justice or low justice. Let me see, what else do we got? Moriel of Shrewton. There are, every now and again, and you having recently, you know, very, very recently,
I was just training
like,
with them
yeah,
like
you
a
guys were
year
just
ago.
training with them, so you actually probably know them a lot better than the other two who also would have had some training time with them, but not as, you know, more recent. Moriel has, I don't want to say a hero complex, but they have been, you know, whenever Sir Elad or Sir Amig when Sir Amig has come through, and these Sir Elad and Sir Amig are both Castellans. You know, they hold castles for the Earl, and so these guys are basically marshals or very high up in the local hierarchy. Whenever they've come by and they've been training the squires, sometimes they'll have them do like little mock battles, and mind you, it's like 4 or 5 squires against 4 or 5 other squires. It's not like a full-blown battle or anything. But you remember that Moriel, on more than one occasion, has intentionally stepped out in front of her team to take hits or prevent others of her team being hit. Or his, actually. I think Moriel should be male.
Moriel's
Let me
male.
Yeah, let me make that note real
Moria
fast.
and Glidno are both male.
Yeah.
Squires.
So Moriel definitely has a certain, like, he's very fearless. Well, I shouldn't say very fearless, but he's definitely got fearless tendencies, and you can't tell if he's showboating or if it's legitimate. But he can be counted on to be like, if anybody needs to lead the charge, he's probably the one you want to pick first, because he will do it anyway. Nerys, well, you've seen her on many a time watching some of the male squires and even some of the male knights, and sometimes even servants, a little bit more closely than she ought to have been for someone who's learning to become a knight.
I'm not taking Nerys because I do not want to deal with that headache.
And then lastly,
I do not need a lusty female servant following my apparently lusty religious basis around.
yeah.
It's
Aethna,
like a bad combo.
with Aethna, you recall a time, you know, about a year and a half ago, somebody had, I'm trying to think of the right word to use here. Somebody insulted her, like her honor, her family, her home, and she never. And this is the one with the pagan bracelet. She never struck out in anger. She never, did anything in response specifically, other than, she made a complaint to Sir Elad, as one would expect maybe that's, the right answer. But she never, tried to carry a feud or anything silly like that. She certainly did not attack anybody. The feeling that you probably got is, you're not really sure if this was because she just was like, okay, well, you're an asshole, but, everybody gets a chance to be an asshole. I can be better than that. Or if she's holding it in and will one day lash out. You really can't tell. And she doesn't speak too much about this. She keeps a lot of that to herself. But she's also definitely appears to be, generally speaking, moved on from that particular incident. It doesn't really bother her anymore.
Yeah, I have the feeling it's gonna be me and Afna. I think I'm gonna go with Afna.
Okay. All right.
Okay, spell that name again because I have it spelled as Aphna, and I have a feeling that's wrong.
It is, but I'm going to copy and paste that here in just a moment. Chosen by Sir Dallin.
I don't know. I think you're missing out not going with Nerys.
I'm not dealing with that problem.
Yeah, that's that's somewhere in the neighborhood of the college kid who still has the high school girlfriend.
No.
Or maybe vice versa, the high school girl with the college boyfriend, or chasing. Never mind. Let me just stop right there.
There's the pagan being that is one of their favorite attributes. It's definitely interesting in the respect that sex isn't bad, like it often is portrayed in the more traditional Christian flavors.
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So,
Oh,
but
sorry.
I also don't want to deal with that level of she's off the deep end, and I'm not dragging her out of random men's rooms.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
better.
Nobody wants to go down to the stables expecting to ride out for something, and your squire is not there because they, haven't put their boots back on yet. Damn, I was just about to say something. All right, so Sir Garrett, Sir Garrett is going to take. God, I was just talking about Moriel, and now I can't remember what I was talking about with Moriel. The story that I made up on the spot. Oh, yeah. Okay, yep, Moriel is the hero wannabe. So, Moriel will be taken by Sir Garrett. So let me make that note. And then the one that will go to Earl Roderick will be Glidno of Broughton. And that will unfortunately leave. I keep wanting to call her a hussy, and that sounds so mean and rude. That will mean young Nerys will return to Castle Vagon for an open wardship, if that makes any sense at all. She'll be scooped up by another knight at some other point in time. Let me make that note as well, just so I don't forget.
Scooped up on another night.
That's not where I meant to go with that, but I also can't argue that now. Return to Vagon under Sir Elad. Nope, not under like that. Stop it. Stop it. Okay. Alright. That will take care of that. So now we move on to the actual royal feast. And so you spend a few days as an army, almost. A small one, but an army. It's Earl Roderick and all of his knights. And all of his knights, squires, and, house knights. So this is a pretty big entourage. And it takes a few days for everybody to move from Castle Sarum, or Castle Salisbury, whichever it is, to Windsor Castle. When you arrive, everybody is provided some sort of lodging, or, at the very least, if you don't get a spot that you can more or less call your own for the time being in the castle, there are stables and barns and things of that nature. And worst case, as Farvel and Everhart will recall from last year, there is open ground out on essentially in the fields outside the castle. If you guys recall from last season, not last episode, but the last year.
Yep.
So the way I'm going to conduct this year's feast is slightly different from the way we did the last one. And then for Rodance, this is just, the feast as you will always know it. The biggest thing is, well, let me back up just a smidge. Some notable guests. Obviously, King Uther himself is there, and a couple of his courtiers, or courtiers, or whatever you want to call them, however you want to call them, are there. Notably is a praetor from the Roman Empire. And
Is he Roman Christian?
I'm sorry?
Is he Roman Christian?
The praetor?
Yeah.
It's undetermined. I'd actually have to go look that up, to be honest with you.
Okay.
This individual...
I don't think in this year yet, but I'd have to double check.
Yeah, I think for all intents and purposes, they're still Roman as Roman can be, even though Rome is definitely on the decline at this point.
Yeah.
But this individual, he's definitely got the Italian look down pat. You know, dark skin, dark curly hair.
Oh, actually, no. They are accepting Christianity as the official religion of the Roman Empire at this time.
Oh,
The-
cool.
The
It
Roman
switches
Empire?
in,
Not to be confused with the Eastern Roman Empire that comes along at some point, somewhere in the vicinity of Byzantium, once known as Constantinople.
Yeah, it says this in 313 AD. Constantine issues the edict that makes them accept Christianity, which later becomes the official religion.
Okay. But
So
anyway,
yes, the traditional Roman Empire is Christian by that point.
okay. So we have, again, notable guests at the feast. We have the Praetor Jesus Christ. I'm going to call him Syagrius. That's probably not how it's pronounced, but that's how I'm going to go with it because there's a Y in his name. Syagrius of Soissons, which is a French region. And we have, of course, the man himself, Merlin the Magician. And by this point, you know, you guys are, wherever your lodgings are for your stay, you are making your way in towards the Great Hall. Rumors are about, there's gossip about, there's plenty of talking. If you would like to maybe interact with some of the locals on your way in towards the Great Hall, this would be a good time to do that. Does anybody want to gossip in particular right now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'm going to break out my entry for as much information as it's worth.
Absolutely.
Especially since I can walk around with a recognized 20 and know everybody's face that I'm possible.
Absolutely. Go ahead and roll your intrigue, Sir Dallin.
Okay.
And I don't
So
recall
I
off the top of my
just
head what it
push-
is, but I know it's not a bad score.
It's 10.
10, okay. So yeah, just roll that 1d20 right there. And that is
I
a
rolled a
success.
1.
Yes, unlike Dungeons and Dragons, a 1 is a very good thing here. Because it automatically is a success. Because, you know. So yeah, so go ahead and roll 1d6 for me real quick. And 2. Okay, thank you. I had alt-tabbed. So what I'm going to do is I have 6 individual lines of dialogue prepared, and whatever you roll for anybody rolling gossip, I'll read that line, and then we can extrapolate off of that as to what more you may want to try to determine. And in your particular case, you overhear specifically the words, "Listen, darlings, it's everywhere. My past lover, that monk, told me that the vile Franks are even worse. They've overrun the last Roman outpost in Gaul. The barbarians are everywhere." And that accent probably did not fit anything, but whatever. So what you're overhearing is talk about how the Franks have overrun the final Roman outpost in Gaul, and Gaul is essentially no longer Roman. And in case anybody, viewer or cast member, doesn't know for sure, Gaul essentially is France, plus or minus some other territories.
So this is essentially the praetor. We could infer from that, or she could infer from that this is basically the praetor in exile.
Yes.
Yes.
But anybody else?
Yeah.
Or does Sir Dallin, would you like to explore some further, or would you like to share with your compatriots. On that note, officially Sir Dallin and the other two knights have not met each other, and on the other hand, Everhart and Farvel are, one could argue, if not good friends, well on their way to becoming good friends. So maybe a quick moment as you guys are queuing, because that's what they love to do in Britain, as the joke goes. While you guys are queuing, perhaps Sir Dallin can also bump into you guys and introduce one another to each other.
Oh, I definitely bump into Rev for sure on the way into the hall.
Who
and ask
is
him how he's
Rev?
doing. Everett.
Everhart.
Is it Everhart?
Yeah,
Oh,
his
I'm
character's
looking
name
at
is Everhart.
characters. Yeah. Everhart. I bump into him and ask him how his family's doing and how the winter was for him.
That's a great question.
Isn't it though?
Well, no, I'm sorry. I meant that more as a GM, and this is like Easter. That's literally one of many topics that many people from across the land would have. Hey, how's your family? How did winter treat you? Because in this time, there is no instant communication across anything more than like a mile or two.
Well, I mean, he did make some trips over for essentially sparring.
That's right. I do remember that because you wanted to improve your lance score, I believe it was.
Yep.
Yes. But yeah.
So we had occasionally made trips to each other's domains
Yeah, absolutely.
during the season.
I'm sure at least one point, Everhart got to hear Farvel's mom talk about more fucking people in my house. That's a callback to the last episode, Redance. So yeah.
Are our squires attending the feast with us?
Yes. However, it's almost a safe bet that unless you keep your squire on a relatively figurative short leash, they will not be seated at the tables with you. They'll be probably like on the floor and stuff. And by on the floor, I mean like there's no specific seating for them, so they basically have to take whatever they can get, which tends to be stand somewhere on the floor against near a wall or something and eat your food while as you hold your plate with one hand and scoop your food with the other.
Yeah, definitely. I will keep my squire with us in the queuing and the beginning things, but I also know better than to walk them down to keep them from being curious and socializing. But I am literally sitting there and informing them of exactly who every single person we see is.
That sounds perfect. Because don't you... isn't your heraldry... Or did you not boost your heraldry a little bit? I thought maybe you did.
My recognized skill is a 20 and my heraldry is an 8. So
okay,
if I don't recognize their face, I can make a pretty good guess at their coat of arms.
Yeah, and if you definitely can't figure out their coat of arms, you definitely know their face if you've met them before. Okay, cool. So Aethna definitely looks over, and she sees the boar's head on a I forget the specific heraldic terms. There's a shield. It's white with a red cross, and a boar's head on it. And she's asking, "Who is that?"
I was gonna say, as relative junior knights under the Earl Roderick, I would have probably introduced myself to Sir
Sir Dallin.
Is it? At some point.
If
Entirely
all our
possible.
squires knew each other. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Let's do that. So you guys have at least a passing knowledge of each other.
Yep.
All right.
Probably introduce myself at that first small feast.
Yeah.
Yes, it would
If
have made
not-
sense that we did. Especially since we spent the last several days traveling together.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So with that in mind, Sir Dallin has overheard something about the Romans being pushed out of Gaul. What would Sir Dallin like to share that information? Because perhaps the other two in their own conversation and catching up and whatnot, they haven't noticed. Or maybe Dallin would like to keep that information to himself.
Oh, I honestly would be as out to collect as many rumors as possible.
Collect and share, or collect and hoard? How draconian of you.
It depends on what I hear.
Okay. All right. So
I do inform them that a notable guest seems like might be having some political problems back home.
okay. All right. Does anybody else want to do anything prior to making your quote-unquote grand entrance? For which, by the way, there is a mechanic that we will be exploring here in just a moment.
I suppose I would be keeping an eye out. Do I see any unexpected heraldry or see an absence of heraldry that I expected to see at an event like this?
Excuse me. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. If you guys don't know, I drink a lot of water especially while I'm streaming, and now I'm trying not to burp. I don't have any particular notes in that regard, so there's nothing that jumps out to you specifically, but there is an awful lot of heraldry. I mean, Logris has essentially 20 different earls, and each of those earls has anywhere from 20 to 50 or possibly even a lot more of individual knights, vassal knights with house knights sworn under those. So if there is a color and symbol combination, you probably see it, and there's just so much that you wouldn't necessarily, even with your personal heraldry skill, you probably wouldn't notice without expending quite a bit of effort, and if your GM had prepped that sort of thing.
Well, there is heraldry put in places of note, and that's what
Yes.
I'm trying to see. Is there anyone of note
Well,
absent, or anyone of note who is
well,
surprisingly in attendance?
right. The biggest one of note, of course, is the Pendragon banner, which is flying highest on Castle Windsor. I forget the name of the county. I gotta find my notes on that. God damn it! Keep going. The Earl of Windsor himself. There's a couple of dukes, Ulfius and I want to say Lucius, the one from Caercologne, the one that rode out against Saxons and kind of had a stalemate-ish. No, you guys had the stalemate. They actually lost. So the ones that went and fought to the east against the Saxons last year, I want to say his name is Lucius without looking it up. So you've got a couple of dukes, you've got the king, the earls, all of the earls of Logris are here. But yeah, nothing in particular stands out, or the lack therein does not stand out either.
Okay. And is there any chance that I could, I guess as far as fishing for rumors, I'm going to be seeing if we're going to campaign against the Saxons this year.
Okay. Would you like to figure that out, or maybe see about figuring that out now, or do you want to wait until you're actually inside?
Which would be better for your order of...
Well, the reason why I ask is you could probably come up with some information relatively easily out here, but once you're inside, you will definitely know for sure eventually, whether it's an official announcement or you pick it up through eavesdropping and etc.
Then I'll probably wait to hear the official...
Okay. There's definitely, I will say that there's definitely the feel of, the Saxons kind of got the better of us last year. We can't let that happen again this year. There is mention of Prince Madoc wanting to get out there and crush the Saxons out in Colchester. But there's nothing, nobody seems to know for sure if that's exactly the plan or who's going to go with the prince. Prince Madoc being the son of King Uther, obviously, because he's the prince, but he's... Whether official or not, it's basically assumed that he will be the heir to the kingdom. Anything else before we head inside?
None from me.
Awesome. Rodance? You good?
Nope. No, I have nothing in particular
Okay.
to do out here. I will be doing lots and lots of gossipy collection.
Awesome.
And I know about my friend's dear obsession with the Saxons, so...
Indeed. All right, so here I want to have a brief discussion because last year we didn't do it quite this way. The normal process for arriving at the feast / entering the feast involves rolling a fashion test, which then provides some sort of modifier for an appearance roll, which then determines where you get to sit at the feast. So here's what I will do. I don't recall specifically how much money you guys have. Rodance, officially or technically you do not have any money yet that you can get your hands on, but I will allow for you a max of 2 Libra, which Libra is essentially gold pieces as a easy analog.
Oh yeah, I made Libra during the winter phase.
Did you?
Yeah. Or I had it written down now that I think about it. Hold on.
Yeah, I have 10 Libra according to this.
Yeah,
Same.
normally you
Yeah.
guys would earn 10 Libra per year, and then you have to
Okay.
use that
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
offset how the weather roll turns out. It's
Yeah.
so what I will allow for the other 2, because you have completed winter phase once, and you have however much money you have on hand, you guys are allowed to use up to 5 Libra that we can assume you spent on acquiring fine clothing and or jewelry. Okay, and for Rodance you can spend up to 2 because you have not yet gone a full year and collected your full manorial income as of yet. Does that make sense to everybody? Anybody want to question that? I hear nothing, so I'm assuming we're good.
Yep.
Okay. So what will happen is you're gonna roll against your appearance, and you may let me double check this. How much Libra? Okay, so yeah, how much Libra do you guys want to spend? You can spend up to 5, but remember that whatever you spend obviously won't be there at the end of the year or anything in between. You know, between now and the end of the year.
Yeah.
I want to point out one thing real fast. Culturally speaking, as knights, you are expected to maintain a certain amount of appearance, and not appearance as a statistic, but appearance as, you know, fashion or social. So you're not you would definitely be frowned upon if you showed up looking, you know, as dumb as it may be. Like, you show up to the feast wearing something similar to what you wore last year, people are going to remember, and people are going to notice, and people are going to judge. I'm talking like, nah, I'm not going to say that. You're going to be judged. That said,
appearance check or like
it's your
rolling for?
appearance stat.
Stat.
Yeah, like your strength, dexterity,
Yep.
appearance.
So you're going to roll against that. You can add as a bonus up to 5 for you 2 and up to 2 for Rodance, or for Sir Dallin. And based on that result and how much money you spent on your appearance will affect your... I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on. I got this backwards, I think. The first roll is your fashion test. I'm sorry. First roll is fashion with the money that you have allocated towards your appearance. And by Jesus Christ, let me make this easy. You're gonna roll fashion with up to a +5 or up to a +2 for Sir Dallin.
Wait
no.
a second. What's our base fashion? Because I don't have anything.
You have a fashion 0 then.
All right.
So you're definitely going to want to spend some money. And in this case, if you have a 0 and you drop 5 Libra, you're going to roll against a 5. Make sense?
Yep.
Now, I may or may not have coached Rodance a little bit and to see if she would put a couple points in fashion at least. We'll see if she did that or not. I don't remember off the top of my head. She also no, she has fashion 2. So she can actually
fashion too.
Yeah, so she could actually get up to 4 if she chooses to spend both of her Libra that she currently has. That as a GM, I was like, fuck it, you got 2 Libra that you scraped together your entire squiring time.
All right. I spent
So-
1.
So basically you're gonna roll against a 1 on this first
Yeah.
roll. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Which
Make your
one?
roll.
1d6
1d20.
or-
You're gonna roll on a 20. You got a 4. Okay.
Ha, ha, ha.
All right, I need you to make note of this for a moment as I get through the rest of these guys. You will have no modifier on your appearance roll, which will be coming in just a moment. Okay?
All right.
Who's next? Rev? Rodance? Who wants to roll?
I'll roll.
All right, how much money are you spending on your accoutrement?
I don't think I can justify spending more than 20% of my current family income on clothing and appearance.
As a knight, it's expected that you're gonna make sure you look good, but you also have, as you said, you have so much money that you're all right with spending, and maybe fashion isn't that important to you. Maybe it is. So how much money do you want to put on it?
I'll go with 3 Libra.
Okay. So you will be rolling against a 3 because you have fashion 0, correct? And that is a failure. So you also will have no modifier on your appearance roll. Rodance, Sir Dallin, you have a fashion of 2. You have 2 Libra available. How much would you like to spend on making yourself look good for this feast?
I'll spend my 2 Libra because I decided I was going to be a sociable person.
That makes sense. That checks out with your character. All right, so you're going to roll against a 4. And you got a 12. So all 3 of you will have 0 modifiers on your appearance roll. So now you'll roll 1d20 against your appearance score, and this will determine where at the feast you will sit.
Okay, I'll go.
Tell me your number because I'm alt tabbed.
I rolled an 8. My appearance is 16.
Okay, that is a success. You will be sitting near the salt, in easy view of the high table.
Alright, my appearance is 10.
You have an appearance of 10?
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you roll? I'm not looking.
12. Can I reroll?
You have reroll tokens that I totally forgot to bring up. Rodance, I have a rule, or a little mini game that I play with the players. Each player at the beginning of each session has 3 reroll tokens. My goal is to get them back by the end of the session. Your goal is to choose whether or not you want to use them and allow for certain rerolls. There are basically, if you choose to reroll, which is not an actual game thing, it's something I do. You have to take your the second roll, and I feel like there's something else with it, but I don't think there is. So.
No double reroll.
Yeah, there's no double reroll. So let me just make my little quick 1, 2, 3, 4. Everhart, Farvel, and Dallin, and Talus is using one of his first reroll. So go ahead and roll again. I'm looking at the wrong die hand. Also a failure. Okay.
Okay.
That was your appearance roll, correct?
Yep.
And you just disconnected for some reason.
I did?
Yep, that's what it says on tabletop.
He rage quit.
Here.
I know it was a joke.
Sir Farvel will be seated below the salt. Wait, hold on. You have an appearance of 10, you said, correct?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, yeah. You are seated below the salt. You are seated... you are distant from the high table, probably near the low end of any other table.
Alright, I'll be right back.
Are you rebooting your computer or something?
No, I'm just checking something.
Okay, do what you gotta do.
Go back.
Yep. Sir Dallin, you failed your fashion roll, so you have no modifier to your appearance roll. You're gonna roll 1d20 against your appearance stat.
Of 16.
It's 16. I do recall something about this guy being a handsome young man. 6. That is a success. And that will also put you near the salt. For Rodance's benefit, the salt, of course, is representative of the Lord, or the king's, in this case, wealth and generosity and things like that. Those closest to the salt, generally speaking, get the better food. The food is still warm when they get it. Some of the more choice pieces of food are still available because they haven't all been taken by the head table, for instance. Salt, of course, being, historically and alchemically important for a variety of things, not just seasoning. Seated near the salt you're basically towards the front end of any given table. You are in easy view of the high table. And if you are seated near the salt, you also receive +1 geniality per round of the feast. I'll explain genealogy in just a moment. I need to make my little tracker for genealogy because I forgot to do that during all the times I prepped. So that would be for round 1, round 2, and round 3. We will be doing 3 rounds of feasting. So this is Everhart, who is going to receive +1 for each round unless something changes. We have Farvel, who will not be receiving any extra, and we have Sir Dallin, who, as a newer knight, has been recognized and has been moved up in the social order of things for the purposes of this feast, and will receive 1 extra geniality per round of the feast. Now, as a reminder / for Rodance, geniality is a score that you are attempting to amass throughout the feast. During the feast, there are various things that you can do and various situations that may arise that will allow you to accrue geniality. At the end of the feast, you will take your geniality, multiply it by 10, and that becomes glory that you will earn for your knight to be tallied up at the end of the year. And because I don't think I fully explained glory before, glory is how well known a knight is. It's kind of a measure of not necessarily experience, but basically their renown, their fame, or infamy, depending on what kind of person they are. So the goal is to acquire as much geniality so that you can turn it into glory at the end of the evening. Make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Any questions so far for anybody?
I think that sound was us losing Talus from Discord completely.
Okay. Well, Everhart, you have the higher glory, so you get to make your first selection during the feast. I can reiterate as needed for Talus's benefit. Hopefully he comes back, because that will really suck. Did we lose him from Discord too? Yes, we did. God
Yeah,
damn
that
it.
was what I was letting
Yeah, I didn't hear that sound because sometimes Discord sounds don't resonate with me. Let me get back in my notes. So a couple things. Obviously, we have the king and the prince. We have Merlin here, and we have this Italian-looking individual, the Praetor Sagrius of Soissons. As the feast is getting situated, everybody's taking their seats and setting up, and food is first being brought out and whatnot. Prince Madoc does make a quick announcement for the benefit of everybody there that he will be marching out to crush the Saxons around Colchester, and he will indeed be leading some knights out to hunt them down. He does not indicate which knights or which earls or, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, who exactly is going to be rolling out with him, but he is making it well known, loudly, and confidently, triumphantly, one could argue, that he will be riding out. Some other things that are picked up is it is confirmed from the head table. The king, he makes a little opening speech and welcomes everybody. We have the prayer, of course. The king does say that, we have the good Praetor Sagrius here. He's come to ask help from us to help recover his lands in Soissons. And the king is decreeing that everybody should treat him with kindness and hospitality as if Sagrius were a Briton himself. The notable and infamous barbarian King Claudius of the Franks has conquered Soissons, and so we need to provide whatever help and assistance that we can. So please treat Sagrius with, as though he were one of us. And that's basically it. Go ahead.
Some clarification of my understanding of the politics of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Brittany, I know real history, and I know I'm trying to clarify for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Is Brittany an independent British kingdom, or are they answerable to Pendragon at this point?
For my own clarity, I am assuming when you mention Brittany, I'm assuming you mean something along the lines of where Normandy is now,
Brittany. There's a section of France
Yes.
known as Brittany
Yes. I just wanted to make sure that.
that is to the east of Normandy.
Oh, okay. From my understanding,
Sorry,
at this.
west.
Yep, I got you. From my understanding, for all intents and purposes, there is no actual British lands in the continent or on the continent. So if it's France as we understand it today, it's France then. Same thing with British, if that makes
Okay.
any sense.
Because the historical context was that Brittany basically managed to. They were independent of the English Britain kingdoms.
I
and
think
they
it.
sort of-
There was a point when in the family history section where there were some British, some Kimricks in particular, that left the island and went to the continent, and then later
Right.
came back under Uther, essentially.
Right.
I think actually it was under whoever
didn't know
was
if-
before Uther, but
I just didn't know if Uther still had any political power or sway over Brittany, or if they were independent of him.
I suppose we could argue that he might have at least some, if not real power, then maybe like his voice in somebody's ear. But I don't have anything specifically stating one way or the other on that. I'd have to dig through the books a little
So,
bit.
from the way that the conversation is shaping up, would I need to hear more, or is my character inferring that we are going to campaign against the Frank?
At the moment, as it sounds, you can expect. Oh, you know what? I think at this point, without getting anything more official, you're probably left with a feeling of like 50-50 as to whether or not you'll be going out against the Saxons around Colchester, or if you're going to be crossing the channel and taking on some Franks. You're not. It's not. For you, for your character in particular, it's not really clear yet exactly where you're going to be going. However, it sounds like it's a safe damn bet that you're going to be going somewhere this summer. Like you could pretty much scratch that shit into stone. You're going somewhere.
So, am I at the Earl? Is he sitting at the head table? I'm assuming my Earl.
Yeah, I imagine the Earls. If there's enough room at the head table, they would make room, or the Earls would be like there'd be like side tables at the head table, if that makes any sense at all. I like in my head, I would just assume the Earls and the Dukes would all be seated at the head table, and then like not even any one of the Earls, because I feel like anybody that's seated not at the head table that is higher than a vassal knight would be insulted if they would be sitting down with those common knights. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, there is above the salt, but
Well, above the salt is the head table.
okay. When I said the head table, I was referring to the main table.
Yes. That's the head table was where all the major personages would be.
I thought the two tables that were closest to the head table.
Oh,
were
you're talking about in the. So this again, visual representation / abstract. We can assume that everybody is seated at the head table, whether or not that could physically be possible based on what we see on the screen.
Okay. All right.
On that note,
I've heard some rejoinings and losings. Is Talus with us or lost to us again?
I'm not sure. But I do want to take a break because we are right at that 1 hour point. So let's go ahead and take a break. That'll give Talus a moment to get caught up with us as far as connectivity goes, and then we can resume when we get back, and we will continue the feast, and hopefully we can have the whole feast done in approximately an hour. We'll see how that works out. Be back in a few minutes, my friends.